Hello guys, today we are going to start to the new definition of the class or structure in C++ programming language. Okay, and so in order to run our code we need to add the main CPP file in here, and then we should give the clear comments, and so we need to test our CPP file in order to check if it's okay or not, and so return 0, and so Ctrl F5 button should be pushed and we should select the C++ DDB and G++ exe file in order to compile our code. And then the program is compiled. Okay. And we have the VS Code.file in here. The task is related to compiling session and launch is related to the debugging session. Okay. And so firstly we need to talk about the class and structures. Okay, class and structure. So in order to improve our knowledge we should ask the question, what's the structure in CPP? Okay, firstly you know that there are natural types in C or C++ programming language, like the integer or double or float or char or something like that. These natural types directly relate to the compiling session, and so it means that whether you should use or you shouldn't use, or you can use or you cannot use, these types is defined in in the C++ programming language. Okay, and so the everything that you can write in this language or programming language should be related to or directly linked to these natural types. But in C or C++ we can define the special types of our program. Okay, and so we can drive some special types needed to be in the main code. And how can we define these types? By using these natural types. Okay, and so the structure is a special type of of our design, in which we can set or we can create some variables or functions in this structure definition. Okay, and so we can link some variables under the some specific structure. Okay, the key idea that is. And so what's the advantage of using the usage of the structure or structure? Firstly, we can store many different variables, like the integer value or double value or char value or string value in C++, not in C, with one specific variable. The main advantage of usage of the structure is that, okay, we can store the many different variables. That means we can use by calling or by using one variable in the main syntax. Okay, But the class is different from the structure, but is the same idea with this structure definition. In the later we will talk about it, okay? And so the third question is that what is the syntax rule to define a specific or special new type? In C or C++ programming language, we can define the structure by using what? The struct keyword, specific name of your object, and so we need to add the parentheses in here, and so we should add the dot comma section. And so in order to fill this structure in here, like this one, integer A, integer B, or double C should be used or should be defined or can be defined by according to or with respect to our algorithms, okay? This is the syntax rule of the giving the special new type of the variable, okay? And so in order to understand the underlying mechanism of these things, we should give some examples in here. Example 1, the include variable in here, the IOStream using namespace std should be given in here in order to use the cout and leave or standard compiling session commands given from the given from the compiler design or CPP language, okay? And so for example, you need to add some two variables like this one, A and integer B, and so the program asks give two numbers in here like this one, and so cin is used to what? Is used to fill the A and B objects, okay? And then we can define the result value in here, A plus B at this moment, and so the general result of this calculation is that result can be given at this moment, okay? And so if I run this code, the program asks for the given two numbers like this one, 3, 5, and so result is A. But these values or these variables are distinct part of this program. Integer A has individual characteristics on this main code, and B also, and result also. And so what about collecting the whole information coming from these things into one structure, okay? And so in order to define these things, we can define or we can use the struct keywords, which define the compiling session. And so we can name it what? For example, the calculation or my calculation or calc statement, okay? This is a special name. You can use the Kamil or Ahmet or Berkem in here. But if I use this structure or this syntax, the compilers understand that this is the special type of what? Special type of this program, and so program or the compiler creates a new type with the name of the calc statement, and it fills this calc statement with the what? With the specific variables like this one, integer num1, integer num2, and integer result, okay? And so in order to check that our program is okay, and so if I run this code again, and so 3 and 5 or 3 and 12 is given in here, and so result is 15. And so there is no syntax rule or syntax error at this code, okay? And so how can we use this structure at this moment? For example, in the beginning of this code, we can collect the whole data, and so structure definition is given at the bottom of this code. And so if I need to create a variable at this moment, I can use the calc statement as a new variable. And so we should give the name of the object calc1 like this one. Okay, and so this is the new type of our object, like the integer and integer b. Okay, and calc1 is like the a or b, or the special name of these structures, okay, or the objects. And so calc statement is the name of the what, the name of type, and calc1 is the name of the what, the variable or object. Okay, and so in order to build the same structure with this code, and so cout give two numbers to the structure, and then cin is calling or is called with the parameter of the what, the calc1. But calc1 has a special variables which name of the what, the num1, num2, and result. How can we reach these statements? By using the calc1. We have a special operators in the C or C++ programming language which is the dot. Okay, if you can use the dot operators in here and then the total calc statement or the new type can be reachable by using what? By using the dot operator. And so calc1 is an object, and so the calc1 can be reachable by using the dot operation. And then what? If I choose this calc1 dot num1, and so I can reach this num1 variable. And also calc1 num2 is also given at this point. Okay, and so we can fill the num1 and num2 variable in here. And then what? How can we calculate the new result variable? We can reach also the result variable at this moment. And so calc1 num1 plus calc1 num2 should be given or passed to the function of these variables in order to what? In order to calculate these results. Okay, and so at the moment the structure result is that calc1 result. Okay, this is the basic definition of the result variable. Okay, and so in the first place we should give the 2 and 4, and 6 is produced by the program, and give two numbers to the structure, and so 13 and 14 can be given to the program. And so the structure result is what? The 28. Okay, this is our basic usage of the what? The struct keywords or struct variable or new type of definition. Okay, this is our code, and so we can specialize our variables or link the variables with another one. Okay, and then what? We should discuss about it, because the integer a, integer b, and result are distinct part of this program. But in the second place, if we can use the structure definition or the structure related to new type of the what? The variable, and then we can collect the whole data into the one variable. Okay, and so this is a huge advantage, because the object-oriented programming is born by using these notations. Okay, and so the polymorphism, inheritance, or the encapsulation and something like that is directly related to what the usage of the structure definitions. Okay, in the C programming language it's the same idea or the same usage is current, because in C or C++ programming language, struct is the same syntax rule and semantics rule. Semantic is the logic or the how to apply the whole the code in the debugging session, but syntax is the rule of the language. Okay, and so we should pass to the next session in here. Example 2 can be defined by the include IOStream using namespace and integer main return 0. Okay. Okay, we can use some specific examples in here. For example, we can build some specific structure with the student one. Okay, and so students maybe have a name or surname or ID name or the points which is created to what coming from the exam points. Okay, and so if I define some student variable or structure in here, I can store some different students with the different points or with the different ID points. Okay, and so in order to accomplish this task, the student's ID can be given to this structure at this moment, and so integer exam point should be given at this time. Okay, and so we can also do midterm 1, midterm 2, and final exam. Okay, but you may use the double variable in here because the dot points is also a point at this time. And if we are using, or if we can use this structure, something like that, and so every student coming from the student ID midterm 1, midterm 2, and final exam scores. And so if I choose Ali-san in here, and then Ali-san can be assigned to the midterm 1 with the point of this 100, and midterm 2 100, and final exam 100, because the Ali-san is the great guy in the engineering, and so easy. But everybody is not like that. Okay, and so in order to help our professors like the Hüseyin Üvet, we should create it. Okay, but with some basic differences. For example, if you create the student structure in here, and so student can be defined by the Berkem. Okay, this is the definition of the Berkem. Okay, and so the Berkem is related to the 100% or the 87.1, and Berkem midterm 2 is related to the it's related to the 56.1, and Berkem dot final exam is related to the 100 dot. Okay, and so we should also give the Berkem dot student ID is that 16, 56, 16, 56 ya da 16 or 16. Okay. And so we can fill the Berkham structure in here like this one. And so these whole variables is directly related to what? The Berkham. Okay. And so we can also define the what? The another students in here, like the Kamil. Okay. And so the Kamil student ID is what? The 09050504. And so Kamil has a midterm score with the bot the 6.5, and Kamil midterm score and 8.2. Kamil is a good guy but a not accomplished guy or success guy. And so the Kamil final exam is 0. Okay. And so we can set the whole variables like this one. Okay. And so we can assign the whole points in here. And how can we use these variables in terms of the what? In terms of the total score of these guys. Okay. And then we should define to what the some structure array in here, because if we push or if we show or if we want to show these variables or values in the output session, we should use the array structure at this moment. Okay. And we can also give the struct keywords as well as in here like this one. There's no syntax error in here. This is the difference between the C and C++ programming language. In the C++ programming language, the whole structure element is named with the class objects or class definition. And so in the C++ programming language, struct or class is not or have not a different properties. But in C programming language, we should give the struct keywords at this moment. Okay. And so this is the second example right now. And so we should, or we will continue with the third example. How can we create the array structure in order to use the for loop or while loop in here? Because in every time we can define the Berkham or Kamil, but we can also create an array structure in order to utilize the useful properties of the for and while loop at this moment. Okay. And so we can create a struct student, the students like this one. The 10 or 2 can be given, or 5 can be given at this moment. Okay. And so we can delete the whole data, something like that. And so we can create some integer I value in here, I5 and I++. Okay. And so we should ask the what? The name of your students. Okay. Like this one. Student ID, midterm, and final exam at this moment. Okay. And so we should design this structure with the string objects at this moment. And so we need to reorganize the student structure at this moment, and the student ID is remained at this code. Midterm 1, midterm 2, and final exam should also in here. And so we need to add the string class in order to store the what? The string, the student name at this time, and voila. Okay. And so if I run this code, there is no syntax error at this moment. And what? If you store or fill the students like this one, we need to ask the student name from the user, okay? And I plus 1 should be given at this moment. And so cin is the what? Cin students I dot student name, okay? And so cout in here the student's ID or no, this should be copied like this one, students in here, and so this should be translates into what? Into like this one. Okay, and so student ID should be given in here, and so student midterm 1 cin student I dot midterm 1, and so the same structure should also be given in here, okay? To and final, and so this is also 2 and this is also final exam, okay? And then we can write the whole this structure by copying all the things like this one. And so the student name should given at this time and leave, okay? Or the total information can be given by like this one, student ID should copy it the things, and student ID is in here, and student midterm should also given in here, and midterm 2 should given at this moment, okay? And final exam notes should be given like this one, okay? And so if I run this code, student name, for example, Ali, student ID 1, and okay, this is the students, okay. Student 1 Ali, ID 100 and midterm 91, 32, 32. Student 2 is the İşcan and 101, and student midterm is also 11, 2 and 85, 7. Student 3 information name is the Berkem, and student ID 102 and 99.1, 114, 2. Student 4 Burak and 103 and 65, 1 and this, and Özden and 104 midterm 1, 9.6, 100, and 43, 2. Okay. And so the students kept the information of the what these things: student name Ali, student ID 100, student midterm 89.1, student midterm 2, 52, blah blah blah. All the informations coming from the students are involved in this notation, and then this structure gives us the total information. Okay. This is how we can use the structure or struct keyword or special kind of new variables or new types in C or C++ programming language. Okay. This is the huge advantage, because this whole variables is linked to the what, to the one variable or one specific structure. And so we can create an array structure in here or array design, and we can cap the 5 students or 100 students. Okay. This is how we can use the structure notations. Okay. And so we can move with the what, with the class notation in here. Okay. And so what is the difference between the class and structure? What is the difference between class and structure in CPP? Firstly, the class and structure are the same in CPP, but not in C, because in the C programming language we don't have the what, the polymorphism or the object-oriented notation, or in the C programming language we cannot use a variable by calling a function or some specific variables. Okay. And so how can we accomplish or design this structure? The main difference between the class and structure has many variables or may have many variables, and class is also having many variables, but the class also possess functions. Okay. For example, we can create a class with the same structure of the what, the calc in here, like this one. The class is a syntax, the calc is a specific name of this class, and so this is the new type of our implementation code. And then we can also give the some specific what, some specific variables in here. But firstly, I can show you this notation by using this diagram. Okay. As I told you, the class and struct is the same in C++ programming language, and so this structure is removed and class is added in here, like this one. And so if I run this code, we have an error. Okay. Now we can delete this main executable file. Okay. And so if I run this code, and there is an error because in the class structure everything is stored in the private notation. Okay. we have the private and public section in the class section and also in the structure. Okay, and so if I run this code and see, there is no error at this moment. 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. It's the example notation in here, and so there is no error at this moment. Okay, and so the class and structure cannot be regarded as a difference notation. Okay, but with what? With the sections. Okay, private, public should be added at this moment, and also I can add the calc struct in here like this one. We can also private and public section at this moment. Okay, and so if I run this code, there is no syntax error. Okay, and so struct and class has also specific sections which is named of the what of the private and public. Okay, and so in the default section, class defines all the variables in the private section, but in the structure defines the whole variable or cap the whole variables in the public section. This is the only difference between the class and structure in CPP programming language. And structure or class capped variables in private for a default condition, but struct in public for a default condition. Okay, this is the whole difference between the class and structure in CPP programming language. And what about the calculation of these things? Okay, and so in the class notation in the previous examples, we can define the num1 value, num2 value, and int result value. Okay, and so if I define the calc object, calc1 in here, calc1 num1 is equal to 5, calc2 num2 is equal to the 8, and so okay, and calc1 result should be assigned to calc1 num1 plus calc1 num2. Okay, and so at the result value is that the calc1 result should be given at this moment. Okay, and total result is that the 13, but we have the some specific one item coming from the class structure in C programming, C++ programming language. Okay, we can also define as some specific functions in the calculation class. Okay, for example, void sum operation. Okay, and so the sum operation can be given by the what, the these things. The result is equal to the what, num1 and num2 at this moment, and so cout result is equal to the what, the result value in here. And so if I run this code, the sum operation should be defined in here, and so there is no syntax error. Okay, and so how can we use this sum operation? This sum operation can be used with what? With these things. Firstly, num1 assigned to 5, num2 assigned to 8, and so result should be calculated in here. But this is not, because the result is 4 to blah blah blah. It's a higher number than the 13, and so if I had, or if I want to calculate the total results in here, and so calc1 dot sum operation should be called at this moment. Okay, and so this is the basic difference between the class can call some function but struct not. It is true, or is it true? No. In C++ programming language, every class can be interpreted by the structure notation, like this one. If I change the struct notation at this moment, and so if I call this program, and voila, this calc operation is called in here. And so, but in C programming language, this is not true. In C programming language, any function cannot be written on the on the struct object. Okay. And if I push the class notation at this moment, this is the name of the calc with the class variable, and so we can also call the sum operation function in here, which is sourced by the which is the reason of the C++ is the object-oriented programming. Okay. And so, to sum up with this whole information, we can create a class or structure in order to store the many variables or the different variables with the definition of the integer or double or string or the other structure notations in the class or the structure in C++ programming language. And so this is much easier in order to implement any problems or the engineering problems, because the student class or structure proves that. Okay, this is easier because if you don't have the class or struct syntax in C++ programming language, we cannot store the every variable linked to the one variable. And so if I push the 5 variables in here, we are not linking to the students, and so I have also 5 students in here and 5 midterm 2, 5 final exam variable, 5 student ID and 5 student name, like this one. Okay, but in here, if I push or if I define the new variable, new type of variable, and I can use this whole structure by using the sum notations in here, like this one. Okay. This is the end of the lesson today, and so I hope you have learned about how you can use the class or structure, and I hope I taught about what the usage of the structure in an advantage way in C++ programming language. Okay, have a nice day.